Well, I looked at the calendar and I realized it's getting to be that time of the year where you gotta start thinking what you're gonna get people for Christmas. So I thought I'd do a quick little video here going through the things I use every day as a mobile technician, things that until you had them, you don't realize how much you love using them. So we're gonna start this out with what I carry in my pockets every day. You can see right there in the side of my pants, I always have a flashlight and a pair of my pliers wrenches. I'll get these out on the back of the truck, show them to you. These two tools are probably the most used things I have, other than maybe a knife. So, flashlight, I try to keep one that's a decent size, something that's bright enough that in daylight you can still see it. This is an O-light that I recently got from Dad. I used to carry a Streamlight, I think it was a ProTac. I've got a 2L and a 1 on the ProTacs, but recently went over to the O-lights. I love the rechargeable part of it. Now, the thing about this one, it does use like a lithium cell in here. It's not a normal battery, so you are stuck with recharging it, but I do keep my old Penlight Streamlight in the truck. It takes AAA, so I always keep batteries for it. But I've been trying to kill this thing. It's been almost a week since I've charged it, and it's still working fine. So, I mean, I use the hell out of it, and I haven't had an issue with it going dead on me. The other thing I keep in my pockets, my small pair of pliers wrenches. If you've never used these before, I keep the big set on my truck. I've got medium sets. I've got them in all of my toolboxes. There's an entire set of wrenches in your pocket. Now, they're not adjustable wrenches like you'd think. So, as you see there, they have a cam action on them, which keeps these two faces always parallel to each other. So when you go to grab something, the tighter you squeeze down on this handle, the more force you're having. I have yet to have one of these round out a fastener. They're perfect to throw on the backside of stuff to just hold a bolt while you're using an impact on the other side. They're great for doing hydraulic lines and fittings. And try to do this one-handed here. They have a pretty good sized jaw. I mean, that is a pretty decent sized wrench just to keep in your pocket all day. Those two things go with me everywhere. Up next on the list, we have my Montezuma toolbox. Now, these are kind of pricey. This might not be something you're going to get for everybody for Christmas, but this might be something you're looking at for yourself. I've had this thing for well over a year. I have it hooked down to my truck. It's bolted down to the bed. A couple bolts. I've got the nuts welded to the bottom side so they're easy to take out. Slides right off. You can use it in your shop, put it on a roll cart. One thing I do want to do is still weld some stake pockets under it so I can grab it with the forklift. But this is about the best way I've found to keep my tools organized on the road. You could go with a regular service truck. I really prefer running a flatbed just because of the versatility of what I can do with my truck. My wrenches stay in place. Very, very rarely you'll have a wrench slide off its peg and go down. But all these sit flush with the lid when it comes down. Storage for sockets. We've got screwdrivers, ratchets, stuff like that. This section gets a little dirty with my pliers and stuff. There's not much you can do to it to stop it. It's pretty cold out, so the hood shocks are going really slow on these. But you even have a ton of storage underneath. I mean, the amount of tools that I cram into this box amazes me every time I try to work with it. But this has made my life so much easier as a mobile tech and so much quicker, being able to quickly find my tools and keep them organized, clean. Another upside is when I go to leave a job site, I can see where I'm missing tools. There are a couple spots on the wrenches where it looks like they're missing. They're not. The set is complete. These pegs are just skipped because they don't fit, and it's been on my list forever. I really need to go through and take like a paint marker and paint the end of these so I know that there are no tools that hang on those. Other than that, though, it's a great way to keep your tools organized while you're out on a job site. Great way to transport them. I've driven down to Tennessee, I've been out to North Carolina, up to Michigan, way out into Illinois, further than that. I mean, they don't go anywhere. They stay where you want them. They're nice and organized. The lid of the toolbox does seal. I haven't had any issues with moisture. These are impact sockets. These have been in my toolbox outside for going on 2 years now. I mean, I pull out pry bars, you know. These things, you know, will rest if they get wet, but they don't. The only thing I can say is every now and then if I'm working in the rain and stuff is just water hitting these, I will spray a little bit of WD-40 on them, just kind of fog over them. They might be a little oily when you go to touch them the next time, but it's worth it not to have rusted out tools. Alright, so these are some of the things here. So here's the other set that I use the most with my minis. I mean, I'm telling you, this will replace an entire set of wrenches for most of what you do. I mean, I still carry wrenches, I still use my wrenches, but these work great for most of what I do. Now, moving on to another thing that if you've never used them, are these mini wire stripper crimpers. They are cutters. I used to have a set of dedicated crimpers and a set of nice wire strippers. I've got speed strippers. This does 99% of the work I do doing automotive electrical. These things are great, and you can get them for like 20 bucks off Amazon. I believe these are OTC ones. These are off Amazon. When I bought my first pair, I was an idiot. I bought it off the tool truck. I probably paid 3 times that. And then I went home, saw them on Amazon. That's what I bought for this truck. That's what I keep in there. And I love it. Next up, my little Milwaukee 3/8 stubby impact. This thing is insane. I love it. I used to have the old style one. I just recently this year upgraded to the fuel. I do have the large battery on it, which adds some size to it. It does stand up on the battery. It'll stay there. The standard battery would just be where this bottom section swells out, just flat across there, and it makes it even smaller. I have done all kinds of stuff you shouldn't do with these. This will take off wheels on vehicles. This took the harmonic balancer off of this truck a couple weeks ago when I had to replace it. I've used it extensively on buses, semis, trucks. This is one of the handiest tools you'll have in your toolbox. You will reach for it every time. With that, wobble extensions. If you guys have never used these before, they're pretty nice. So when you go to use them, right there, it's a normal extension. Just hooks the socket on. Push it up just a click. Gives you a little bit of an angle. So you can get onto fasteners that you just can't quite get on straight without having to actually put a universal joint on the end. I didn't think I was going to like these very much when I first bought a set of them. I thought that they were going to be annoying, that, you know, just use a regular wobble end or, you know, swivel sockets. No, I love these things now. And this is a cheap Harbor Freight set. This is nothing fancy here. I mean, I've used it as a chisel at or a punch at points. I mean, the bottom of it's all beat up. Still works though. It'll still go on my impact. Still takes sockets. And it's nice because when I throw stuff in a bag to go from the truck to where I'm working, these get most of it done. It's very rare that I actually have to use wobbles anymore on the end of my stuff. And with that, you just saw the next item on there. Mid-length sockets, semi-deeps, depending on where you get them, what they call them. These are what they say. They're a semi-deep or a mid-length, so they're between a shallow and a deep well. That's an SAE set. I think these were like 20 bucks off Amazon, maybe 30. I mean, one of them's lost some chrome. That's probably my fault because I impact them continuously. But they're great. If you're going to walk up to a truck and go do some work on it, or a tractor, it's in the middle of a field, you don't want to get stuck out in the mud, I usually pack a bag and walk out there to it. These are the type of sockets I grab. They will do 99% of the job. It's very rare they'll have to go back and get a shallow or a deep. These will get it done. Another great cheap tool that you could look at for somebody is one of these stud extractors. I actually have a broken off stud in there right now. So these are like less than $20 at most part stores. They're nothing fancy. They're no brand name or anything, but they work. I've used these extensively. Dad is actually the one who put me onto them when we were down in Ohio working on Sage's bus. I used these to extract all the broken bolts out of the front trunnion and his. They work great. They bite hard. They just take a 3/8 drive ratchet, tighten it up on there. The threads in this are reversed, so they grab onto it and tighten as you turn. But this was enough that it took a broken stud and re-broke it off flush with the block, which that was another problem. I had to drill and extract still, but these actually bite really good. I wasn't expecting a good quality tool for, you know, the less than $20 part, you know, price tag on this from a parts store, but it works. I've pulled countless studs out with these things, and they'll really get you out of a, you know, tough situation. The only downside of these is they're kind of big, so depending on where you're trying to get a broken stud out of or a piece of a bolt, it may not fit, but if it does, this is one of the best values in my toolbox. A couple more quick things here. Next up on the list is my mini chain motor. This thing is rated to lift or pull 1,100 pounds. It's pretty small. It takes up almost no room by the time you throw it in your toolbox. This thing has saved me so many times. Working out in the field alone, you don't always have someone to help you pick something up or carry it or hold something while you're trying to install it. I have rigged this thing up so many times and used it to hold all kinds of stuff. It's worth its weight in gold on the truck. I would never go out on a job site anymore without it, and they're cheap. Really worth a spot in your truck. Lastly, more stuff to help you keep organized. magnetic trays. These things are cheap as can be at places like Harbor Freight, but they're nice. Now, sometimes you run into issues like this one where the magnet comes off. This is not a big deal. I've glued them back on many times, or you just throw them back on there. They're not going anywhere. And then I run a lot of these organizing trays in my truck. This one's actually broken. I've had this DeWalt forever, but it does seal. But it's nice just to keep stuff organized. I mean, cheap electrical connectors. These are not for use on outside stuff. I know that's not a huge fan of those, but I do keep them around in case of emergencies. Fuses, caps, hydraulic plugs, roll pins, cotter pins. I've got several of these in my truck with all kinds of different assortments in them. These are made to stack together and hook together. I keep the outsides latched because my front has broken on these, but I mean, one of the things that annoys me the most is when I can't find stuff that I know I have in the truck, and this actually does stay stuck to the top because of the roll pins and the cotter pins in there. But I hate when I can't find stuff, so I try to keep as much as possible in boxes like these so that I'm not sitting there wasting a ton of time on a job site looking like an idiot trying to find stuff. And this isn't just something for mobile. I mean, this is so nice in your garage. I've got stacks of these on the shelves in my garage. I've got them all labeled with silver Sharpies on the front so I can see where the handles are, what's inside of them. So I just walk up, find what I need, pull it off the shelf. And then I've got everything when I go to do the job. I've got them set up for electrical. I've got ones for hydraulics, just all kinds of stuff. It's a lifesaver. So those are some of the tools that I use pretty much every day on every job I go on. Hopefully it gave you some ideas of things you may want to get somebody in your life for Christmas, or possibly something you didn't know you needed for your shop. Just about everything on that list can be found on Amazon, with possible exception would be that Montezuma toolbox. I think they carry the Extreme Tools ones. I don't know if they actually carry the Montezumas. But for the most part, most of that stuff on that list isn't very expensive. The Impact is a little pricey. The toolbox is definitely up there. But the rest of that stuff can be usually had for under $100. And I'm telling you, after you use them, it's going to change your life working on stuff. Hope you guys have a great holiday season here, whatever holiday it is you're celebrating, and I'll see you guys in the next video.